Let's take a look at section number 3, which is the mandated criteria number 2 of disturbance in the capacity to relate appropriately to people, events, and/or objects. This criteria means there is a deficit in the capacity to form relationships with people. The capacity to use objects in an age-appropriate or functional manner may be absent, arrested, or delayed. The child may seek consistency in environmental events to the point of exhibiting rigidity in routines. It has been suggested that we might label this section as social skills, but this criterion involves more than just social skills. Individuals with autism have difficulty with social skills, but they also have difficulty using objects in age-appropriate and meaningful functional ways, such as in sequencing or dealing with time. Difficulty in this area is a fundamental aspect of the diagnosis of autism. Identification of problems in this area relies heavily on observational interviews as well as accurately documenting data collected through such strategies. It is important to develop good observation and interview skills in order to objectively watch and listen. Here are some examples of disturbances in the ability to relate to people. Mom comes to school to pick up Bobby. He has a temper tantrum because he doesn't know she was coming, and he wants to ride the bus. Mom asks Bobby for a hug. He ignores her request. Timmy walks into class and says, "Hi, Bobby," and Bobby doesn't look up from his book. John asks Bobby if he wants to play ball. Bobby acts as though he didn't hear John. When approached by John and handed a ball, Bobby just drops it to the floor. Bobby comes to school with his shirt on inside out and with mismatched shoes. Bobby doesn't care if his hair isn't combed. Bobby will approach a board game that peers are playing and grab the spinner away from them. Bobby meets a new peer who is 10 years old by extending his hand for a handshake in the same manner as meeting an adult friend of his father's by extending his hand as a greeting. Bobby has no sense of personal space for others. Bobby will eat food from someone else's plate, sometimes grabbing it off their plate. Bobby will tell his teacher that she stinks, she's fat, or she needs to go on a diet. Here are some examples of disturbances in relating to events. Bobby knows he should wash his hands in the restroom, but he will wash them before he uses the toilet and not after. Bobby forgets to write his name on his paper. Bobby forgets to bring his lunch to school, and often his homework too. Because a teacher is ill, music class is going to be combined with another class, and it will be before lunch instead of after. Bobby bites his arm in protest. Bobby's teacher dyed her hair lighter than usual, and Bobby won't speak to her. Bobby's teacher decided to arrange the classroom with desks in quads of having 4 rows of 7 desks each. When Bobby sees the classroom, he begins to scream. Here are some examples of disturbances in relating to objects. Bobby is highly upset when he cannot find his favorite washcloth, but has no reaction if no one wants to play with him. Bobby likes to sit in front of the dryer and watch it spin the clothes around. Bobby likes to line up pieces of candy by color and then count them. Bobby likes to sleep with his video games. Bobby likes to switch his flashlight off and on repeatedly. And Bobby likes to take his CDs out of their cases and spin them on hard surfaces. Let's view in more detail disturbances in relating to people. Individuals with autism may not develop the usual warm relationships with caretakers. They may appear not to want to relate to people. They may lack self-awareness of how his behavior or her appearance is seen by others. They may lack skills to play cooperatively and make friendships, and they may be unaware of social differences. Many of these disturbances in relating to people have roots in challenges of perceptive taking. So let's look at perceptive taking, or theory of mind. Individuals with autism often struggle understanding others have thoughts, and that interpreting what they are thinking and acting accordingly is important. This is called mind blindness, and was described in an essay by Simon Baron-Cohen in 1995. Another way to think about this set of skills is through perspective taking. Michelle Garcia Winner describes understanding perspective in her curriculum, Think Social. This is the ability to understand the emotions, thoughts, beliefs, prior knowledge, and experiences, motives, and intentions of yourself as well as others. Reading other people, responding appropriately to people and context, watching for feedback to adapt behavior, and awareness that what you do and say affects others is difficult for individuals along the autism spectrum. Lack of these abilities often pose the greatest barrier to the next step in an individual's development. Simon Baron-Cohen illustrated the first level of theory of mind with the Sally Ann demonstration. Sally and Ann are in the same room and have a box and a basket. Sally has a ball and she puts it in her basket and leaves the room. While she is gone, Ann moves Sally's ball into the box. When Ann comes back in the room, where does she look for the ball? What information or process did you use to make your decision? We all tend to imagine what is going on in another's mind, given the circumstances we observed. We base our communication on our guesses about what others are feeling or thinking. We use our observations, our reading of nonverbal language, and the memories of our own experiences to make fairly accurate guesses. You need theory of mind, or TOM, skills. Theory of mind skills are important to most social interactions. If you do not have well-developed theory of mind, you would not usually be embarrassed, because embarrassment involves thinking about what others are thinking of you. This requires having a theory of mind. Do you know individuals who do things you and their peers would find embarrassing, yet they do not seem at all self-conscious about it? To lie, you must think that someone does not like the truth, and then you must think of a better story that might be acceptable. Most individuals with autism spectrum disorder are not good liars. Some can tell nothing but the truth in the factual way that they see it. So if you don't want the answer, don't ask for it. Frequently, individuals with autism spectrum disorder misunderstand the intentions of others because they are not good readers of body language. They do not understand subtle implications, and they do not understand implied. We are punished or rewarded based on whether we have followed the rules. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder may not understand what is meant by the rules. They may not understand the importance of compliance, and the rewards offered for following the rules may not be very good motivators. In school, grades are given for work completion. Grades, good or bad, may mean nothing to them. Being suspended or sent home is oftentimes seen as a reward. So consider that children usually have a well-established theory of mind by the age of 5, and many understand these kinds of ideas much earlier. You would not expect a 2-year-old to understand his cries in a supermarket offend others. A 3-year-old might be beginning to understand when he takes a toy from another child that it upsets the other child. However, between 3 and 4, most children do begin to understand the effect of their behavior on others. If a child is developmentally delayed, then the understanding of others' perspective will also be delayed. Individuals with autism may demonstrate extreme delays or absence of development in this area. It is very important to try to teach an understanding of how one's behavior affects another. It is also important to teach people who are around persons with limited theory of mind that many of their behaviors do not have the same intent one would typically expect. Michelle Garcia Winner is developing promising work in the area of social skills. Among her publications is a curriculum of activities designed to promote social thinking entitled Think Social, a Social Thinking Curriculum. You might want to explore her website, which is shown on the slide at the link displayed. Individuals on the autism spectrum need a stable environment within which learning to be flexible is encouraged and supported. The world may be chaotic for these children who have difficulty relating to objects and ideas. They may hang on to patterns, ideas, and rigid ways of doing things. They want things to remain the same so they can understand and feel secure. They are most comfortable with the familiar. Most changes can make them feel totally out of control. It can be seen as a fear or anxiety reaction. It goes beyond what most others would consider a small change, but really be something that is very frightening to the child. It makes sense that we may see resistance, rigidity, and even meltdowns, explosions, or implosions. The difficulty students with autism have with relating to events is one of the reasons increased structure and visual supports are so important. Much more on this topic will be addressed in later sections and in the Working with Autistic Students in the Schools training. Most children with autism do enjoy being able to predict their lives, like we all do. Therefore, using a visual schedule to make the day's activities and time periods concrete can create stability. Its use can also encourage flexibility by being able to visually substitute an unexpected activity when change becomes necessary. This is a good strategy for teaching structured flexibility. You might find some more support by looking at resources 7 and 8, which are dedicated to how to do visual scheduling and a sample visual schedule. When considering disturbances in relating to objects and or ideas, we look at the following. Individuals with autism spectrum disorder have stronger attachments to objects than to people. They may not understand the function of objects. They may use objects in idiosyncratic, stereotypic, or perseverative ways. They may use objects for self-stimulation. They may be uninterested in toys or may play with them in unusual ways. Examples of this struggle are evident in play behavior. Some children aren't interested in typical toys and or may use them in very unusual ways. Particularly in higher functioning individuals, there may be almost an obsession or perhaps over-focus on certain ideas or interests. Some of these individuals are able to bring any conversation around to their favorite topic. Some of these behaviors may be related to sensory needs, in that objects or toys may be used to fulfill those needs. For example, spinning wheels of a car or tricycle may indicate a need for a vestibular input. Another common observation is that of a child with autism lining up objects in a particular way and becoming quite upset if the order is disrupted. Frequently noted is the repetition of scripts from video, TV, video games, or commercials. Individuals may focus on odd parts of objects or videos. For instance, one child memorized all the credits for his favorite video. In conclusion, disturbances in the ability to relate to people, objects, and events is a defining aspect of autism spectrum disorders. This is an area affecting independence, employment, and community integration. It is crucial to recognize and support development of social skills.